Hey guys, what's going on? Watomarmelon here today, and I don't know what the background to this video is going to be, but it's going to be, I believe, muted. So you're just going to watch some pack opening as I discuss an aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh collecting that I don't think people have made, a specific video to discuss, although to my knowledge, there might be one out there, but I think it's something that every Yu-Gi-Oh collector is thinking about, and that's the concept of a protected rarity. I've never heard anyone call it that, but this is, what I've coined the term in my head. And it's something that is kind of unique to Yu-Gi-Oh. If you look at Pokemon or, other card games, oftentimes they don't have the same reprints of the exact same artwork with the same frequency that you do in Yu-Gi-Oh. Additionally, it's very rare in most other card games to have reprints be worth more than the original version, especially with vintage cards. But there's a lot of history of that happening in Yu-Gi-Oh, specifically with cards getting, ultimate rare reprints in, turbo or astral packs. I'm not going to get into whether I agree that these versions should be worth more than the originals, but often they are. And, even if you look at something like in the OCG, the original printing of Chaos Emperor Dragon, I believe, was out of Power of Chaos. I might be butchering that set name because I know the set name on the card is actually just, I think it's like 304, something like that. So, I forget what exactly the set is called. But the original printing was in that set, and it was a secret rare. So it wasn't, a common card or anything of the like. And that version of the card of Chaos Emperor Dragon has been dirt cheap for over 20 years. Or I think it's been out for 20 years. I could be wrong about that. Let's just say 15 years. But it's been dirt cheap for a very long time. Even in January of 2021, I'm making this in July of 2021. I was buying that card for, $5 in very lightly played or better condition. It's a dirt cheap card. And you think about, why is this card so cheap? Well, if you look at the first reprint of Chaos Emperor Dragon in the OCG, it was a tin promo, and it was an ultimate rare version of Chaos Emperor Dragon, which in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think it's almost objective at this point that the ultimate rare is considered to be, a more premium rarity than secret rare. And this sort of spurs the thought of, why is the reprint, which is a tin promo, so it's guaranteed in every tin, and it's not like it's, super hard to find. I can guarantee you that much, because it's also, pretty cheap for a very long time. It's spiked in price over the past 8 months or so, but it begs the question, why is that reprint worth more than the original printing, which was a secret rare? And, if you look in the TCG, for an example, something like Pot of Greed, which is a rare card out of Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, LOB, why is the first edition rare version, which is the first printing of Pot of Greed, so much cheaper, or not so much cheaper, but cheaper than the Duelist Pack Kaiba, which was, I believe, printed in 2010, that first edition ultimate rare version. Why are these comparable in price? I don't know what the exact prices of either of them are, but I know that, it's not, LOB doesn't blow the Duelist Pack Kaiba version ultimate rare first edition out of the water. And so, you think about, why is it that the case? Well, one, supply is lower for the first edition Duelist Pack Kaiba version. That's obvious. But, this is a reprint, and it's not even the first reprint of the card. Why is this card worth so much money? And, the idea that comes to my head is that ultimate rare cards are almost always collectible. Dark Arm Dragon, Judgment Dragon, they had original print secret rares from sets where they were extremely iconic within those sets, and, all-time iconic cards from the GX series. And the ultimate rare versions of those cards still fetch enormous prices, although the secret rares are definitely, expensive cards as well. And it makes you think, why is it that these Ultimate Rare reprints, why is it that the Blue Eyes alternative Ghost Rare is worth more than its original, I think it was an Ultra Rare printing, or maybe a Secret Rare printing, but why is it worth so much more? Obviously, it's harder to pull, but these are both modern cards. Like, this is an ultra modern set. There are tons of people pulling these things. And it all comes back to the idea of a protected rarity in the TCG. So what are the protected rarities, in my opinion? Well, I think certainly Ghost Rare is a protected rarity. Ultimate Rare is a protected rarity. And then I would also throw in two modern rarities, although oftentimes we're thinking about vintage cards, being Collector's Rare, which is probably the most controversial of these, and then Starlight Rare. Now, what do I mean by a protected rarity? Well, I mean that if the original printing was in one of these rarities or in multiple of these rarities, so for example, Stardust Dragon was released in Duelist Genesis in 2008, it had three printings within that set, being Ultra Rare, Ultimate Rare, and Ghost Rare. And so to me, it's bizarre to see, and it was extremely bizarre to see that, at the time of Toon Chaos being released, which is probably the most collectible modern set, given that its first edition print was so short, and that, it was the set that introduced Collector Rares, so it's iconic in that sense. Why was the first edition Collector Rare like $400 for Stardust Dragon on release, but the Ultimate Rare, I believe at the time, was under $400. So how does it make any sense? I'm almost positive that it was under $400 at the time. How does this make any sense, right? Why is it that this new printing of a card is worth more? Well, over the long term, there are rational actors in investing for sure. You're essentially betting on the fact that people become rational actors in the long term. So if there's any inconsistency, or a card is undervalued or overvalued, you're betting on the fact that over some amount of time, eventually the market will realize that such a card is overvalued or undervalued and correct for that. So, it didn't make any sense, and lo and behold, nowadays the Collector's Rare is a cheaper card than the Ultimate Rare. And I imagine that the discrepancy between the two is only going to be exacerbated as time goes on, despite the fact that the first edition Collector Rare is 1 in every 50 boxes of Toon Chaos, and first edition Toon Chaos, as I said before, was not printed very much. So, it's not as if Toon Chaos is the set that was printed into the ground, albeit it was printed in 2020, so, it's only been out for a year. But, that's something that you should think about. So if a card is printed in one of these original rarities, that version of the card, in my opinion, will always be something that is worth collecting. And even if it gets reprinted in another one of these, protected quote-unquote rarities, it doesn't matter. Because, even if its original printing is an Ultimate Rare and it gets a Starlight Rare, such as something like Effect Veiler, for example, I think in the long run, Effect Veiler Ultimate Rare will be worth more than the Starlight Rare, despite the fact that the Starlight Rare is much, much harder to pull out of the set. One, the age of Duelist Revolution versus, I think it was Eternity Code where it was released as a Starlight Rare. I think that eventually people will realize that the first appearance in this protected rarity is so iconic that, it just blows the Starlight Rare and its difficulty to pull out of the water. So, that's something that I've just been thinking about, and I wanted to, I guess, put on record. What do you guys think about protected rarities? Obviously, for sets like Legend of Blue Eyes, for example, the Blue Eyes White Dragon, it doesn't matter if it gets printed as a Ghost Rare or an Ultimate Rare or a Starlight Rare or a Collector's Rare. It will never be more expensive than the Legend of Blue Eyes first edition card. And I think that more has to do with how iconic the set was to building the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the West, where the set itself was so iconic that the cards inside of it are, brought up on a whole nother level. That's why, the rare Pot of Greed still is worth money, despite there being an Ultimate Rare version. because of how iconic Legend of Blue Eyes was. And, I think that extends for certain sets like, for example, Metal Raiders, Magic Ruler, and even, certain select sets from late Duel Monsters, such as, Magician's Force. I think, I don't think the Dark Magician girl out of Magician's Force is ever going to go out of favor in the TCG because, it doesn't matter if it gets a Ghost Rare printing. It's just, it's iconic. It's the first printing of that card. So, let me know what you guys think. As I said, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. It's been your boy Watomarmelon, and peace out.